Have you ever felt like you were being watched, even when no one was around? What you're about to hear doesn't come from movies. It doesn't come from imagination. These are true stories. Rain-soaked nights, empty roads, seemingly harmless encounters that spiraled into nightmares with no escape. Welcome to 4 real horror stories where the line between survival and vanishing is sometimes just a single glance away. Story 1. The Woman Who Smiled in the Rain. It was a night of pouring rain, and I was driving home after a late shift at the roadside diner where I worked part-time. Even though it was already late, I felt strangely alert, my mind spinning like it didn't want the day to end. I figured I'd have to take some melatonin to fall asleep. The road I took was my usual route, picturesque during the day, but at night it was nearly pitch black with no streetlights and nothing but dense trees on either side. Only a few faint yellow glows came from scattered parking lots. I was passing an old deli when I saw her. A woman standing beneath the only working street lamp in the middle of the downpour. She had no umbrella, no bag, just standing there motionless with one arm raised like she was waving or greeting someone. Her smile was faintly visible in the light, but I noticed it right away. A smile that didn't flicker, and eyes that didn't blink. I slowed down and rolled my window down a bit, calling out, "Do you need a ride?" She stepped closer. Soaked thin, unusually tall, maybe around 6 feet. Her mouth stretched in a grin, revealing rotted teeth, some completely gone, others looking like they'd been broken a long time ago. But her voice was strangely gentle. She called me an angel for stopping. She said she just needed a short ride up to the next town. I hesitated, but it was cold and raining, and I wanted to believe I was a good person. I couldn't leave a woman stranded in the rain like that. When we got to a nearby gas station, I pulled in to fill the tank and grab a few cans of seltzer for the weekend. I asked if she wanted anything, but she just smiled and shook her head. "No need, honey." But when I came back out, she was gone. The passenger seat was drenched, the door slightly ajar. I looked around the lot, no sign of her. For a second, I thought maybe she left out of awkwardness, but something felt off. The smell in the car was different. I tried to shake it off and drove home. My apartment was on the first floor of a 2-story house. The main entry was usually unlocked, only the apartment door itself was secured. That night I came in, changed clothes, left the drinks on the kitchen counter, took some melatonin and tried to sleep. But I couldn't. I drifted off, and then jolted awake. My breath caught. My throat was dry. As I reached for the glass of water beside my bed, I saw it. Something in the corner of my room. A shadow, hunched behind the closet. Head down, hair hanging, knees drawn up at strange angles. I didn't dare move. My eyes hadn't adjusted to the dark, but I knew someone was in my bedroom. I forced myself to stay calm. I closed my eyes, opened them again, and the shadow stood up. No footsteps, no door opening. She walked out of the room, as if she'd never been there at all. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I just sat there, frozen in the dark, heart pounding out of rhythm. The next morning I checked everything. The apartment door unlocked, the blanket from my car missing, and the back seat covered in damp yellow mud streaks that still hadn't dried. That's when it hit me. When I went into the gas station, she had crawled into the back seat, and all night she had been inside the house with me. No broken locks, no sound. She just came in, as if she'd done it before. I moved out in less than a month, but even now, every time it rains, I shiver thinking of that face, that still smile in the downpour, and the question I'll never get an answer to. How did she get in? Story 2. The truck that smelled like rusted metal. Back then, I was just a 10th grader attending my very first late-night party, completely swept up in the booze-fueled chaos I never should have been part of. I had gone with a friend named Michael who told me, "Leave your phone in the car. People at parties like this will steal it." I listened to him. But when I wanted to leave, Michael had vanished. I didn't know anyone else at the party, and I had no way of contacting him. Outside, the air was freezing. I decided to hitch a ride home. After what felt like forever, as car after car drove past without slowing, a beat-up gray pickup truck finally stopped. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a man with a scruffy beard and a low baseball cap that cast a shadow over his eyes. "Need a ride, kid?" he asked. I nodded hesitantly and climbed in. The truck was warm, but the air inside was thick, reeking of old metal. It reminded me of rusted knives or dried blood. The man spoke in a low voice. "A kid like you, wandering around at night drunk and drifting. That's easy prey." I froze. His hand moved to my thigh slowly, almost tenderly. "Don't worry," he whispered. "I'd just like to rest a bit," before saying goodbye. Before he could do anything else, flashing red and blue lights lit up in the side mirror. He swore under his breath and reached for the door lock. I bolted, jumped out, and ran straight toward the lights. It was a midnight police patrol. They asked questions, but all I could do was stammer. Technically, he'd only touched me, hadn't done anything else. And legally, they weren't wrong. But I had seen something. Inside the truck, right next to the steering wheel, was a faded photograph. Flashlit, grainy, of a young girl in dark clothing, staring directly into the camera. It was taped near the dashboard right by his hand, and his hand had been resting gently on the photo. The cops didn't ask about it. No evidence, nothing to hold him on. But I knew just a few seconds more, and I might have ended up like the girl in that picture. Story 3. A drunken night with no way out. I woke up lying in the grass by the side of a roadhead, pounding like a sledgehammer, clothes damp and muddy. It was pitch black, and aside from the wind rustling through the trees, the silence was suffocating. I had no idea where I was, or how I had gotten there. The night before, I'd been at a frat party, drinking way too much. The last thing I remembered was flashing lights, pounding music, and someone's voice pulling me away. And now, I was here, alone, shivering. I patted my jacket pocket, no phone, no wallet. Panic set in. No way to call anyone, no way to locate myself. Just darkness, and a creeping sense that I hadn't just been left here, I had been brought here. I started walking along the dark road, hoping to run into someone. After nearly 30 minutes, an old sedan pulled up beside me. The man behind the wheel gave a slight smile. His voice was low, polite. "What's a young lady like you doing out this late?" I told him the truth. I was lost after a party, couldn't remember anything, had no phone, and just wanted to get home. I should have stayed quiet. He gave a slow nod, still smiling, and unlocked the door. At first, he made small talk, casual questions, but as we drove, his voice dropped to a murmur, and his eyes kept darting sideways to look at me. Long stares, unblinking. "What color underwear are you wearing?" That question froze me. His hand rested on my knee. I whispered, "Please, don't do anything. I just want to go home." He didn't respond. Instead, he turned off the main road, pulling into the woods. He leaned over, trying to put his arms around me. I didn't let him. I flung the door open and bolted, ran deep into the trees as he shouted behind me, "Where are you going? I just wanted a little affection." I clamped a hand over my mouth, crouched behind a tree, and held my breath. A car door slammed shut. The engine roared and his vehicle sped off into the night. I waited and waited, then crept back toward the road. Minutes later, another car approached, this time an older man, concerned and soft-spoken. I climbed into the back seat, said nothing but my home address. When I got home, my friend was already waiting outside. They had my bag, my phone. No one knew who I had left the party with. No one saw me disappear. And neither did I. The scariest part is, maybe I did walk out on my own. But maybe someone else walked me out. Story 4. The Final Passport. I was 29 that year, hitchhiking from Germany to Paris to retrieve some paintings from a solo exhibition. I met him at a small gas station somewhere in rural France. He was short, disheveled, and spoke broken English. I didn't know a thing about him except that he agreed to give me a ride. That day was gently sunny with a light breeze. Peaceful, the kind of day that felt untouchable. But we'd been driving for less than an hour when he suddenly opened the glove compartment in front of me and pulled out 4 passports. He handed them to me one by one, narrating their stories. The first girlfriend died in a motorcycle crash. The second, car accident. The third, brain tumor. The fourth, fell off a horse. I guess I'm just unlucky with women, he said, his tone flat, like he was recycling a worn-out joke. I gave a nervous laugh. But after that, something in me shifted. A quiet, crawling unease. Not long after, he turned onto a dirt road, saying it was a shortcut to Paris. I didn't argue. But instead of charming countryside villages, there was only forest. Thick, dark, empty. No more English, he ordered suddenly. His voice was deeper now, sharp, final. I went quiet. The only sound was the tires grinding against damp earth. I placed a sweaty hand on the door handle, unsure whether I should leap out or stay still. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror. His lips moved, mouthing something I couldn't catch. The car slowed down. We were deep in the woods. No cell signal, no roads behind us. I stared into his eyes. He stared back. No words, just instinct, like 2 creatures in the wild, each waiting for the other to make the first move. Then, without warning, he hit the gas. The car jolted forward, tore through the last stretch of forest, and burst back onto the main road. Moments later, he casually asked if I wanted to have dinner at his house. I shook my head. It was the only response I could form since he'd banned me from speaking English. I got out on the shoulder, watched him drive away. I never called the police, never spoke a word about it. I told myself it was all in my head, just paranoia. It wasn't until 20 years later, during an English lesson in Leipzig, that a French student showed me a photo. Patrice Allegre, the serial killer who once terrorized France. That was him, the man behind the wheel that day. And I still wonder if I'd said just one more word. Would I have been the 5th passport? Have you ever experienced something strange, unexplainable, or chilling enough to stay with you forever? If you have, share it in the comments. Who knows, the next story told might be yours. And if tonight's stories gave you chills, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next mystery. See you again in the dark.